Okay. Yeah, so I'm calling this class Effortless Presence. Oop, there's Maria Souza with growing and shrinking. So I've been working with people privately, specifically women who are over 60. And hey, Maria, nice to see you. Yeah, so I've been working with people privately, and so many women have learned of this holding pattern of drawing in and up and sucking in their guts and tucking their tail. And it's so unhealthy in our bodies. It's such a submission pattern. So, so, and so sometimes when we think of breathing, it's like, or thinking of like just inhaling and exhaling, like then we add extra tension patterns to that. So I want to think about inhaling and exhaling just as a natural flow of growing and shrinking. So it's sometimes we think expansion and contraction, and even the word contraction sounds kind of clenched. So we want to let ourselves expand and come back in with the least effort possible. And so it's not going to be a breathing that's controlled where we're counting for four, inhale, exhale, four, like coherent breathing, but where we really tune into this sense of growing and shrinking with the breath. And it might just be our lungs, or it might come out into our bodies. It might come out expressing in a more full capacity or not. And I want to also add that I have here for my movement pleasure a foam roller, which I will probably use some of the time. You don't have to have that. But any kind of toys you have, let yourself play with them. Like if you have balls, physio balls, stuff like that, or even pillows, things to lay around on. Sometimes just changing our relationship with our environment is a good way of working with that growing and shrinking pattern. So let's start. And I'm actually going to start on the floor right away. And we can come in for a landing. As I come in for a landing, I just feel myself on the ground. Tuning into the rise and fall of my breath. Letting myself just receive being me right now. What does it feel like to be you right in this moment? And if it's possible to let go of any stories of what happened in the past or any planning for the future and just really come into what does your body feel like exactly right now? What is the tempo? What is the tone? And the biggest thing to invite in is equanimity, that you can be okay with whatever comes up. Maybe something comes up that doesn't feel okay. Can we be okay with not being okay, right? The little meta version of that. Just letting yourself receive yourself, receiving yourself in this moment, receiving this moment in yourself. And another thing that I have been really into lately is this idea of grounding myself by imprinting on the earth, like imagining my body just sinking into the earth and making an imprint, especially on the exhale. I like to think of letting the bones get very heavy, so the really earth element of my body, that dense bone, fibrous material, letting that, it's also fluid filled, letting that get heavy, letting the water in my body pool downwards. And then allowing my muscles, my tissues, my organs to become very soft within that. Nothing to hold on to, nothing to grasp. Allowing yourself to connect to the feeling of gravity, of gravity holding us on the planet as a comfort. We can feel grounded through sensing our weight. So if it feels good to move a little bit, let yourself kind of roll. Could be very slow, could be very small, or it could be big. Maybe a little side movement rolling one way. Maybe it's more three-dimensional, not quite even through your body. That's fine. We're not trying to impose a strict regime. We're trying to allow the organic nature of our body and our tissue to really express and come forward. And that means that we're just letting it happen. There may be sometimes more tension in movement, playing with that. And then sometimes it may be very relaxed and less tension in the movement. Different flows of energy or awareness may move through your body. Just noticing what comes up. And allowing yourself to interact with it through sensation, through awareness, through movement, maybe micro movement, maybe macro movement, whatever feels good to you. Letting that deep shape flow support, that breath support, the life support systems of your body coming together to be coherent. And in that space, letting us come back to this sense of growing and shrinking with the breath. You may want to exaggerate it with your movement. So like there's this natural kind of expansion and contraction of the universe going on all the time. So if we think of that contraction as just kind of coming into ourselves, not an active, tense, rigid grabbing, but a really loose returning to center. So we can radiate away from center and then come back into center. And it could be as simple in your head as just saying to yourself, growing and shrinking, growing and shrinking. And it could be even really still, growing and shrinking. Letting ourselves kind of activate on the inhale as we're filling up, and then let go on the exhale as we're coming back down, letting go of the breath, letting our weight drop. Yeah, if we're laying on the floor, as we breathe, if we're breathing in a really three-dimensional way, we're going to come up away from the earth a little bit on that inhale. And then the exhale, we can nestle back in, settling back down. If we notice that we're trying, that we're like really actively engaging in that kind of Western version of focus where, yes, I'm going to do this thing, then let go of that idea, make it softer, make it easier. Maybe thinking of the air element, like just light, free flow, and easy. Inviting a sense of freedom and play into the movement of your cells inside your body. The cells are also breathing. So feeling into that deep cellular breathing. Sometimes we think that growing is really good and shrinking is bad. And sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes we are trying to be smaller and getting bigger is a problem. So take away the, if possible, the judgments about getting bigger or getting smaller, growing or shrinking, and just be in the experience of it. Really allowing allowing sensation and movement to bubble up, growing and shrinking. Some little sea creature just floating in there in the ocean. But we've got this breath support happening with this growing and shrinking, getting bigger, getting smaller, very gently, very easily, very effortlessly. When we're moving around and we notice that it becomes an effort, let it go. What can I let go of now? What can I soften? We could think of the growing and shrinking as sort of spreading out, opening wide, and then narrowing back in. We can get taller and longer, and then come back in. And thinking of that, as we're lengthening out in our spine, allowing that to kind of fluff up those cushy marshmallowy discs in there, right? The discs are supporting the vertebrae, right? There's a disc between two vertebrae. Letting that growing and shrinking come all the way into the spine. So there's this natural rhythm of life force, creating space, rebalancing, integrating, allowing, freeing up the pattern of being you. So you're not rigidly locked into your stories. You're setting some of those things free just by moving without any huge effort, just letting it be easy. Growing and shrinking with the breath. Allowing in wave-like and tentacle movement. So the waves can move through, rippling through any part of your body. Any part of your body can be a tentacle. And if it feels good, if we want to add some sound, let's add like a shh, a gentle shh, and a ha. Growing and ha, letting go. Shh. Growing, ha, shrinking, diffusing, right? So diffusing our density, letting ourselves become more spacious with that natural growing and shrinking cellular breathing. You may try even playing between the ha sound with a just aspirated and ha with the vocal cord, just feeling the difference, the dance between those two energies. Ha, ha. So for me, there's a definite inner outer relationship when I do that ha with the with the vocal cords or no vocal cords. And I actually feel like when the vocal cord is involved, I feel it going out more. And when the vocal cord isn't involved, for me, I feel a little more internal. So there's this interesting shift between inner and outer when I add that vocal cord. Ah, ah. Yeah, allowing yourself to settle down on the exhale. Ah. You can also play with the sh sound, with how light and diffuse and gentle it is, or how pushing it is. So we start to notice our own tension flows. Letting your face free up too. So the pattern of being you in your face can also have a sort of growing and shrinking quality. Let your eyebrows move around, let your nose, let your face squish up. Give it some freedom to do different things. Undoing the pattern. Well, this is one reason why I would never do Botox myself, is because I like to feel the movement of my face. Like, I feel like that is really integral to my being alive. So I don't want to freeze parts of my face. Oh, we've got enough freeze in our whole culture, right? With collective trauma and all the things. So I don't need to freeze my face. I want my face to be alive and have movement. Although you got to be really careful whenever you say you would never do something. That usually tempts the fates. So it's likely I wouldn't. I won't say never, but it's highly unlikely that I would. I'm really into feeling the movement, feeling the aliveness. Ha. Yeah, I say this sometimes when I'm in these explorations. Sometimes I just feel like I'm suspended in a very comfortable, gentle way, suspended. So there's very, very little effort to be in my body. Awareness doesn't have to work hard to be aware. It's just aware. And I'm just allowing my focus and my awareness and my presence to land on my awareness or in my awareness. If I'm struggling with awareness, I can take it into one sense gate. I can just go, okay, what am I seeing? Let me see. Which, of course, I feel much more interested right now in feeling. So, what do I feel? What's happening in my feeling sensation? Could be, what do I hear? What's the dance between all of the senses? What do I smell? Ah. What's happening inside my body, right? In my interoception. Interoception, feeling inside. Coming back to that growing and shrinking. The natural ebb and flow of being a human, growing and shrinking, breathing, rising and falling. And it may feel interesting to hang out with a full breath. Have a little moment in your breath hold where it's full, or have a little breath hold in your moment of fullness. When I hold my breath, I can still move. but it might feel good to be still in your breath hold. You can also try the breath hold on the exhale. So just exhaling out and then hanging out there a little bit longer in that empty space. Again, moving or not moving, listening into the desire of your own body, of your own system. Allowing, allowing, allowing. Maybe there's resistance to allowing. You can allow the resistance. Yeah, so this growing and shrinking in the Laban work would be just deep underlying shape flow support. What is shape flow? It's this continual ongoing flow of the organism of your body, right? The flow of the breath, the flow of your blood. And this whole pattern can be done in any way. It doesn't have to be laying on the floor. You could go for a walk and focus on that growing and shrinking with the breath. Being compassionate with yourself, being compassionate with the world around you, being kind with yourself. Maybe you can feel your heart growing and shrinking. Everything doesn't have to go out all the time. We can come back into ourselves. I can come into my own heart. I can radiate out from my own heart. Using the breath sounds as just play for awareness so that you have that sound to give you. It's like you have a crayon and you're drawing and you have different breath sounds, you got different colored crayons to work with. Yeah, which color is each breath sound? Or it could be like you have a Sharpie and a fine line pen and a pencil. You have a silk scarf, a wool scarf, and a polyester scarf. All right. So each thing is just a different way of playing, of sensing and noticing. Sometimes one is going to be more appropriate than another, or you can really tune into one sound or one feeling or one play more than another. And so I really want to invite you also, especially TV land people, to come back and repeat some of these so that you try it again and see how it lands in your body another time, right? Every day is a different day in our body. Oh, and there's my phone. It's the car people. So I'm actually going to end this really early because I have to go to another thing at right at 12 o'clock. So I'm going to end the live stream. Oh, live stream people, please